Hello, Swivelheads. It's Greg Ellison. President Trump has a new deal with NATO, apparently, over Greenland. Now, how it's to be worked out with Denmark and Greenland remains to be seen. The tensions for war with Iran are ratcheting up again. And China and the United States are still geopolitically positioning for the big one, for the real big war. So, my friends, stay tuned. All this is coming to you. All the reasons to get your affairs in order and stay prepped because the world is a very interesting place in the sense of the Chinese proverbial uh, thing on that. So, we're going to try to keep this quick tonight, my friends, because we got a lot to cover and a long way to go and a short time to get there because I got to get up early. So we got to keep this in short. So I'm going to do some share screens here so we can talk about this. Bing, 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 bing. Although we could talk about it without the share screens, I guess. But anyway, so indeed, Trump has a new deal with Greenland, apparently about Greenland. Well, I can't say it's with Greenland, but it's a deal with NATO. And basically, what we know is this deal is one wherein the United States would get a sovereign right to a region of Greenland for NATO defenses. So it would be a bigger area. It would be similar to the deal that the United Kingdom has with Cyprus or Ramstein Air Force Base in Europe. So it'd be much like those kind of deals. It'd be like a super large embassy, you might say. It would be like U.S. territory within another country. So it doesn't give up sovereignty of Greenland, but it gets the United States in there in a permanent sort of way. It would be, as Trump said, forever. So that is the deal with this. It would, and Trump is already talking about putting missile defense areas. He's talking about elements of the Golden Dome, which is missile defense. The Golden Dome, and contrary to some other YouTubers, is a defensive system. But they might put nuclear missiles in Greenland because I've shown you there's a huge advantage to doing that, and that shorter flight times to Russia, less smaller rockets could deliver the same payloads, and furthermore, and probably the biggest of all, it would Russia nuke the heck out of Greenland when all the radiation would blow back on them. You see what I'm saying? Would be a big impact to Russia. I'm sure Russia's not too fond of this idea, even though they offered to help Trump, take Greenland at one time, as I showed you previously. But, maybe they're just trying to get on the good sides of Trump because they may be thinking he's might be getting ready to pull one of those masters of the air scenarios and take Russia out. Um, I think that's a far chance. And like I said earlier, when I did the last video on Greenland, I thought that Trump was really trying to position himself for a better deal, and I think he got what he wanted. So, and of course, he went to Davos and said, "No, we're not going to invade Greenland," and he never did say he would. That was all the media and all the other countries reacting, Europe overreacting, and people trying to make political hay out of it for the most part. But Trump was executing his old art of the deal kind of strategy there. So that's what's really going on in Greenland right now. The details are still to be worked out. Greenland and the Danes may have something else to say about it. And on that regard, at Davos, Trump did say that, if we don't get it, we'll remember that. So if we get it, great. And if we don't get it, oh, yeah, we'll remember that for whatever that means. Anyway, so, and Trump also, as part of this, backed off his tariff threats, um, which he had on Europe. Now, there are those like Glenn Beck who, interestingly, suggested this whole thing about tariffs was really a stress test. It was a stress test on allies to see if they were really allies. And I would say a lot of them fail, except maybe Italy. Italy really took the United States side in this whole kerfunkle with Europe over this stuff. So maybe Italy is the only ally we really have in Europe. So what happened? Western leaders were flocking to Beijing amid these trade pressures. Now I got to tell you something. When somebody's your biggest benefactor, when somebody is, the United States says over the last over the last 30 years, put something like $20 trillion into defense that's defended NATO, part of NATO. So the United States essentially is NATO. It wouldn't be like the rest of these countries kicking America out, or maybe America would withdraw, but it would be like they would be seceding essentially because the United States has funded 70% of NATO. That is like two-thirds of the expenditures. So, what's Europe going to do? They put a little token force, a couple of dog sleds and a bobsled and some kites up there in Greenland, as a token tripwire, supposedly. And a lot of bravado, about it. Oh, yeah, we're going to defend it. We're going to defend it. As I said earlier, that was show. But, what was the show really? I think we're seeing now. But, you know, as Trump said, these people can't even defend themselves. He really spanked them there in Davos today, or yesterday now. So, guys, Western leaders are, they just flock to Beijing. There they are. This is our good friend, Mark Carney, right here, just really bending over to Beijing. And of course, we got Keir Starmer, the PM of Britain, doing pretty much the same thing. So, uh, yeah, another U.S. ally set to make trades with China. Well, UK. That's what this is. I can't read this stuff because we're blocking it. But the United Kingdom, that's what that's all about. So, not to mention the United Kingdom, for my good friends that's over there and watching from there, the United Kingdom has actually come out and I'm going to pull up my chat room. United Kingdom's actually come out and decided to let this ginormous Chinese embassy be built, a big spy fortress within uh, London, big spy fortress. So sounds crazy, right? Well, it's got some big secret room, skiff centers underneath, and all kind of stuff. So, guys, it's the biggest embassy in Europe. It's kind of like having a Pentagon in your capital city of your opposing power. And here they all are flocking so fast to, they rely on the United States for their markets. Let's just be blunt about it. And they've had tariffs on us all along. And that's part of why Trump was trying to get another trade deal with them, which they were threatening to thwart. And then they go run into China. Well, what do you get with China? China takes your money, but China steals your intellectual property and then turns around and builds the stuff that you conceived in their country and sells it back and dumps it in the market so cheap that it shuts your companies down. That's what they do. And so, Europe trying to trade with China is making a deal with the devil, and they ought to know better. And that's what Mark Rutte is telling them here. This is the General Secretary, Rutte, I guess is the way you pronounce his name. He is warning Europe that about these Chinese investments come with strategic strings attached. So it's not just the trade and the stealing of intellectual property. They try to cut other deals that get them embedded in your country. That's the strategic strings, just like the Belts and Roads initiatives and all the dual-use facilities like the ones that they have right now in the Western Hemisphere that Trump is trying to get out with the Donroe Doctrine. So Mark Rutte, or however you say his name, he is really, I thought it was Root. He's, because I've heard it pronounced that way too. He is onto something there, and he's the one that Trump negotiated with essentially for this deal. I got the same article of them twice, it appears, for this deal with Greenland. So, in any event, so there's now Trump has decided to really expand American defense forces. He's going to double the size of the B-2 bombers. You remember, we got a B-21 bomber being built too. And so he might increase that fleet, but he's actually going to increase the size of the B-2 bomber fleet by 25, which is essentially doubling it, more than doubling it. And then, because we lost a few, and then he's going to get the B-21s coming online. So we're going to have a significant bomber fleet. The B-52s are great for standing off at a distance and lobbing long standoff cruise missiles. but going over a near peer adversary, you wouldn't want a chance of B-52 for that. Now, if you really pummeled the country's air defenses, then you could carpet bomb the heck out of a country with a big old B-52. But the B-52 is, I'd say, a better plane than the Bear bomber that Russia has, because it's a turboprop bomber. But anyway, so tensions are still going crazy with Iran. So Iran's now said, hey, Donald Trump, if you take us out or you take out our supreme leader, we'll set fire to the world. Now, what in the world they mean by that? We don't have all the proxy forces they used to have, but it is thought that still, this may be where they would activate the sleeper cells in the United States. So like I said before, that was essentially a nuke level event if they do that. And so that would be the last thing they would do, but they might do it. And that could bring us to our knees in this country. So that's the closest thing I could think of to setting our world on fire. So whatever they mean by that, let's hope and pray that's not it, and somehow that don't get activated. But I would say you better be prepping for it just in case, because you got to prep and pray and hope for a better day. I always tell you guys that. So in any event, U.S. has got our carrier strike force, the USS Abraham, coming into the Persian Gulf area, the Gulf of Aden, all that area. It's actually coming right now. Apparently, they just passed through the Strait of Malacca, the Malacca Strait, and they're in the Indian Ocean right now. So they're on the way there. They'll be there in a few days. So that's when tensions might really ratchet up. Now, could you imagine this? Could you imagine that this is your defense against the USS Abraham? Could you imagine you're one of the guys in these boats and you're going up against the U.S. Navy? Hey, has anybody showed them the drug boat videos from Venezuela? I think obviously not. Yeah, I wouldn't want to be out there in the waters against U.S. Navy and one of these things, especially after that. And obviously, they've not seen those videos. And now they probably won't because the internet's cut off from Iran. How about that? So anyway, Trump said Iran be wiped off the face of the earth if something happens to him. And furthermore, he's actually, another point I didn't bring up is that he's actually called for defense planners to come up with plans to wipe Iran out. I don't think they'd take all Iran out because, they're trying to help the insurgencies, the revolutionaries who are trying to bring down the Ayatollah's government there. So the best thing they could do is try to help them out. Anyway, so now here's the odd thing. Erdogan, president of Turkey, he's choosing Ayatollahs over the Iranian people. He's cutting deals with the Ayatollahs. Tells you a lot about where he's at. But he's really something of a dictator himself. President in name only. El Presidente, right? So Erdogan, I've always said you can't trust him because he cuts his foot in too many other camps and negotiates and too much with other side of things. So for him to be a reliable NATO partner is highly questionable. Now, something else that I didn't bring up article-wise for tonight is that Turkey is joining the alliance between Pakistan and Saudi Arabia. And that is something of a nuclear alliance because Pakistan's got nukes. And Turkey's got one of the biggest militaries in the region. So those three together would be interesting, especially if next time India and Pakistan goes to war. What would that mean? Saudi Arabia didn't really have a lot to offer in a war like that, but Turkey could. So we'll have to see how that plays out. How will China play on that? China would play on Pakistan's side. So, see how things can get messy in a hurry. It can get crazy messy over there. In any event, so guys, gold is still crazy high. It's 4,827.90 cents for a troy ounce, and gold, excuse me, that's gold. Silver is knocking on $100, 94.28. So if you want to consider having assets you can hold as our dollar is flapping in the wind, you might go to defythegrid.com. If you use discount code GreenGregs, you get 1% off. So consider that. Anyway, let's get over here. So China calls for international efforts to prevent Japan from reverting to path of militarism. Like Japan's going to start the empire of Japan all over again and conquer half of China. No, it's ridiculous. How could they? You know, China's got a whole lot more people, and even though they both have demographic issues, Japan would not be able to mount enough people in their military to take another country like that. You know, they have a blue water navy, and they got some interesting capabilities, and they may develop views. The only reason China wants to hold Japan down, and they're trying to get Europe to go along with them to try to hold Japan down. Even the United States, Russia, of course, Russia's with them in this because Russia had wars from China from way back. Excuse me. Well, yeah, that too, but wars with Japan from way back. That's why they sold us Alaska, was to have raise money to fight Japan. Well, Alaska was really a bridge too far for them. They couldn't maintain it, control it. But anyway, all that aside, is that the reason China wants to keep Japan down is because China wants to take Taiwan. And when Japan realized that the loss of Taiwan could cost them their sovereignty, it was such a grave risk to them, existential risk if they lose their trade routes. And that's exactly what happened. China would control all the trade routes, and they'd be at the beck and mercy of China, who's not favorable to them. So Japan realized for their survival, they have to defend Taiwan. And when they announced that, which probably shouldn't have, that's when China went ballistic. Because China knows that Japan would still be a force to be reckoned with when they're trying to cross a 100-mile Taiwan, Strait of Taiwan in choppy seas. So, Japan could be the game changer. I mean, our logistics are way far off from Taiwan, but Japan is right there. Japan's got islands that butt up almost to Taiwan. So this has got China chafing. And if it chases them enough so they don't attack Taiwan, well, good. So I say Japan needs to arm up because they realize that their nationhood's at risk here. And, this is a world war that's brewing, my friends. And that's what that's all about. And that's why China is really chafing it. But China's also vowing to defy Trump here in the Western Hemisphere. There's, oh no, you can't do your Donroe doctrine. You can't keep us out of the Western Hemisphere. We're still going to be cutting deals with all these countries in Central America and South America. And as you remember, they just war gamed having conflict with what apparently looked like the United States around Cuba, Central America, South America, to include up around Houston in their war game. Interesting. We're going to come back to some of this in a little bit. So you ought to understand and appreciate why the Don wants to keep them out of this hemisphere. And he's trying to get them out. That they're trying to control essential critical choke points, like both sides of the Panama Canal. They try to cut a deal with either Argentina or Chile to be able to keep us from passing around through the Strait of Magellan between South America and Antarctica, which is some of the roughest seas in the world. But, and that's also why they want to control the Arctic, is to control trade up there. So Trump he realizes the world's a chessboard right now, and he's got to play the chess game or we lose. Unlike the previous presidents who were asleep at the switch, or maybe didn't even know they were alive in the last case, who knows? Anyway, so that's why that's important. That's why the Donroe doctrine is suddenly getting emphasized. It's because the Don, Trump, probably knows we're about to get into it with China. And that's probably what suddenly caused him to ramp up the military and go full throttle on this stuff. Intel is probably says, hey, this is about to go down. And so he's getting ready as best he can and hoping he's got time to get it all prepared before it does. Which may mean China might want to preempt it and do it sooner rather than later. This year, possibly, instead of their advertised 2027. Who is going to tell the world, well, we're going to be ready to attack somebody by this date, and then you actually do it that date? That's a total violation of Sun Tzu. Anyway, I do not expect 2027 is a year. It's either going to be before or after. It could be, but I'd be surprised. Anyway, so I think a lot of that is for show. So domestic front resistance. They're showing that Democratic mega donors say it's wartime against the U.S. government. I think this one should have been trolled down further into some of these other. I got this article a little bit early, advanced in my lineup here. Left-wing activists funded by the Democratic mega donors like Lori Powell, Jobs, Steve Jobs' widow, and George Soros are calling for a domestic front of resistance, saying it's wartime against the U.S. empire. They don't love us. I'm going to come back to that. I got that a little bit ahead of the game here. We'll come back to it, though. Anyway, what's Musk having to say about all this? He has said that, and I think this is a good quote about all the stuff in Minnesota. He says, it is pure evil for people to stop the arrest of child predators. If you agree with that, put a 2 in the chat room. If you disagree, put a 1. What do y'all think about that? Very interesting quote. I think I got more stuff on this topic further out. I didn't realize it was this far early in my lineup here. I started this lineup of articles yesterday, but I didn't have enough gas to deliver it last night. I got to get really early in the morning, so I can't go too late tonight, guys. So Mark Carney fires World War III Article 5 warning at Trump of the Davos speech. So Mark Carney, Canada, he really went off yesterday, or maybe the day before. He really went off. But you know what? I think Donald took a lot of steam out of his sail. And he says, we're not going to attack Greenland. And we're not even going to do the tariffs. But Carney ran to China so fast. And according to some, oh shoot, I hate it when these do this to me. I pull this I read this article on my phone, nothing blocks it. I put it on here, it comes up, wasn't blocked till I start to show it. Now, well, you got to pay for it. I'm seeing this all the time now. It's almost every stinking news thing now. I can't afford to pay 40 different news agencies, more money than I make on YouTube in a year each. That's what it would come down to. I don't make, but very, very, a couple $100 a month here. Geez, these subscriptions are crazy. Anyway, so China's playing with fire by bypassing Trump, says China's strategist is trying to warn Canada what they're getting into. I had his name all down here, but anyway, so much for that. Russia alarmed by U.S. Typhoon missiles in Japan. Well, there you go. See, that kind of fits with the Masters of the Sky. Yeah. I guess China would be alarmed. Remember my Masters of the Sky talk? Anyway, so U.S. forces apprehend 7th oil tanker in the Caribbean. Now, what you need to know is a lot of these oil tankers are sending oil to China, or were, and are being stopped. Should China lose Iran, China is going to be in a very bad spot, which makes you think if they're on the verge of losing Iran, they might move on against Taiwan, just go ahead and do it, or defend Iran. I kind of doubt they're going to fight for Iran, but they might decide it's time to launch their war, get it while the getting's good. Or, who knows, maybe the gas will be taken out of their sail and they won't be able to do it because they got to have petroleum to run those ships. Here's somebody, China gets 80% of their energy from renewable energy. Well, I'm going to tell you something, that don't run battleships. And China does not have a nuclear navy. So guess what they're using? Petroleum products, diesel fuel. Anyway, so here it is, UAE. Get this. UAE, I got this mixed up. I had another article in here that goes with this, and I was hunting this one. I get some articles here. Sometimes I get a hard time to find what I'm looking for. UAE, Belarus, Bahrain joined Trump's board of peace. alongside U.S. rivals China and Russia. Now, Trump's board of peace, he started out as the Gaza board of peace, but he's making it a broader thing. And there's suggestions that his plan is to replace the UN with this, and he would be the permanent chairman of this board. And countries are just signing up to it. Interesting. Not only that, but Russia's offering money to sign up for it. Wow. They're offering, I got the article on that later. I'll get to it when I see it. I was trying to scroll them up together, but it's late. So Trump gave Davos elite some tough love. Finally, yeah, he basically spanked them. He said, basically, in other words, their era of globalism is over. That their dream of a globalist one world government, ran by the WEF just wasn't going to happen. It wasn't in the cards anymore. That Europe couldn't even defend themselves or anything else for that matter. And their whole societies and all of Europe's been hollowed out and caving in, basically. So yeah, there's a different world shaping up. That's what this boils down to. Whoa, what happened here? I went into an ad. So anyway, interesting times. But basically, Trump is kicking back the New World Order and the deep state all at once. Four ways Trump has dismantled the deep state, reinstating Schedule F, where he could basically fire federal employees, the Doge program, reduced federal job employment by about 271,000 jobs. They shut it down because they complained, oh, you're taking our NGO funds that funds all our grafting and corruption. How dare you? Anyway, shut down cuts, and they blamed it on everything else. When the government was shut down, he did more cuts. And then they're investigating a lot of deep state abuses by the FBI, CIA, and those guys, especially when they were basically those agencies were being politically weaponized in the past. So very interesting. Here it is. This is what I want to scoot up to the other thing. Putin offers $1 billion from their frozen assets to join Trump's board of peace. They've also offered money from the frozen assets. They want the frozen assets to be returned to them, because it's theirs technically. And it was frozen, by the SWIFT bank system, controlled mainly out of Europe. So this is what Russia is pushing for, is to get the money back. But they're claiming to give $1 billion of it to be on this Trump board of peace. And again, I think they're trying to buy influence with Trump because they don't want Trump to hit them. Maybe they will even make an alliance with Trump against China. Maybe they'll switch, or they'll see the light. Say, we don't go with the United States. We're about to get our clock clean. If Putin would wise up to that, then China would really have to watch their P's and Q's, because Russia's the last place they're getting oil from. So if Iran goes down, China is in a real pickle, especially if Russia switches sides or the United States decides to take Russia out. And the biggest war coming is with China. Anything else pales in comparison, except for Russia has a lot of more nukes than anybody, at least as far as we know. We really don't know what China has, but at least not publicly. Maybe Palantir does. Maybe that's why they might consider a Masters of the Sky scenario. Anyway, I don't know. Let's hope all that don't come to pass, because that would be fraught with a lot of danger. But here's something you can get behind. Good news, good news. This is something that people on the left and right could get behind, as far as I would think. Over 200,000 signed Danish petition to buy California from U.S., even to rename Disneyland. They'll rename California. Yeah. Denmarkification.com. Denmarkification, I guess after Californication. So they want to buy California. 200,000 is signed. Yeah, they want to call it New Denmark. New Denmark. And they got a new name in here for Disneyland too somewhere. But anyway, I say, go for it. Let them buy it. Hey, we should swap it for Greenland. Maybe charge them $1 to boot. I don't know. We may have to pay boot to get them to take California. But, Denmark's a little on the lefty side. California's on the lefty side. They get along just fine. Anyway, I posted this on my Facebook site, and a Californian come in. He actually supported it, and he's on the liberal side of things. I said, "Oh yeah, well, I support that to get away from the powers that run the country today." Essentially, it's like, okay, fine. I think people on the left and right could get behind this right now. Yeah, let Denmark buy. Hey, I got any Dane friends in here? Run sign this petition. You can have California. So yeah, this is some articles are out of order. This is on the Chinese mega embassy in the London's Royal Mint territory. I don't think that's a picture of it. I don't know why that picture's in there. But anyway, that's what they're trying to do. China is. So, and here's another thing about Britain. What Britain is doing, they have given up the Chagas Islands and the Maldives, basically, which we have our Diego, what's the name of how you say that? Uh, Garcia, or Diego Garcia Air Base at. That is the air base we've used to send all our B-52s and other fighters and bombers out of out to the Mid East from the Indian Ocean. That's the air base we've used for decades. That's probably our most strategic air base in the region. And Keir Starmer just wants to give it up. He wants to let the Chinese in, and that's going to be an issue. Keir Starmer is really siding with China. He's wanting to put a digital ID, that you'd have to buy and sell stuff on your person, mark of the beast, basically. So I would hope their friends in the United Kingdom might see wise to knock his party out so he don't have the power to dominate your life the way he does. Too bad you don't get to elect PMs directly like we do our El Presidentes. So here it is again. UK defends the Chagos deal after Trump calls it an act of great stupidity. Yeah, he said the big long airfield here. That's what we're talking about. That's a barrier reef island, looks like. The shape of it. California, a couple days ago, was rocked by, well, this is the 20th, yeah, rocked by 16 earthquakes in 24 hours. Got a lot of people out there worrying if the big one's about to hit. And then soldiers at Fort Bragg military base are told to prepare for a Minneapolis deployment. That's in addition to the 11th Airborne Brigade out of Joint Elmendorf Richardson military base in Alaska. Now, a certain other big, very large, prominent YouTuber says, "Oh, I guess they're going to send the 11th Airborne Division down because two battalions up because they're mostly Asian and they don't care to attack Americans." Where the heck did he get that idea? Yeah, they're just like American troops anywhere in the world. The United States populates its military units with people from all over. There used to be a time, World War II, that it ended pretty much after World War II, that troops would be from states would occupy and be part of different battalions and things like that. You'd have this battalion, that battalion from this state and that state. You don't have that anymore. That ended pretty much. It was on the way out somewhat in War II, but it really ended after World War II, pretty much almost immediately after World War II. That states, so they're not all from Alaska. They're not Alaska natives. They're not people from the West Coast that immigrated from Asia. It's just a regular military unit like all the rest of them, just happens to be based in Alaska. It was part of the 25th Infantry Division at one point in time, including the forces under Fort Greely were put under the 25th Infantry Division at once upon a time. I know I was there then. So, yeah, it's mixed forces. So you might say I was part of that at one time or, adjacent to it. So this whole idea, I don't know, this is a really big YouTuber that this guy had a channel of like over 1 million subscribers. So anyway, but he's not American, so I won't fault him too much. But but same thing with the troops in Fort Bragg. They're from all over the world, all over the United States. Yeah, all over the world too. We had a lot of foreigners in the military when I was in it. They joined the military hoping to get citizenship. A lot of guys from South America, Mexico, ton of Puerto Ricans, but they were already Americans. For it seemed like me in the Army was third Puerto Rican was in the Army. About a third Puerto Rican. But anyway, I had a lot of good Puerto Rican friends in the Army. No kidding. Some good soldiers. Anyway, now here's something you need to know. Experts who ran simulations on how Civil War starts warn Minnesota is exactly what it looks like. And they wrote this before the things escalated to the point where they said, wow, it's even worse now. So this is Claire Finkelstein, a professor at the University of Pennsylvania, Cary Law School. And so she was involved in these studies. Her college at the Center for Ethics and the Rule of Law, CERL, CERL, conducted a tabletop exercise in October 2024 to simulate the outcome if the U.S. president were to carry out law enforcement agent operations similar to the ones being conducted by the Trump administration. I don't know, guys. When you got a governor talking about putting his National Guard activating its federal troops who are there to do what the president was elected to do, it brings a lot of questions. I'm saw any numbers in here. Okay, yeah, there are twos. Okay, good. I'll check the chat room here in a little bit. We're about through the news here. We're a coffee club drinkers in the morning. I have a sip for y'all. Keep me awake, but I got to get up in a little bit. Democratic Socialist of America links to who? Chinese Communist Party calls for internal strife. And at least one person defected and says, isn't what I signed up for. So somebody blew the whistle on them. Democratic Socialist of America. So I'm telling you guys, China is behind a lot of our internal strife. I've been saying that for some time, and it keeps coming out. And we keep seeing sources for it and people funding it, like Bingham guys mentioned earlier. So it just keeps coming up, guys. Uh, you know, Neville Bingham. Anyway, so the Democrat Socialists of America are divided over the group's connection to some Chinese Communist Party officials and efforts to silence criticism of China. How about that? How about that? They're planning some big stuff up in New York City. The DSA, of which Big Apple Mayor Zoran Mandani is a member, is cozy to the CCP and taking Beijing-aligned positions, sparking internal strife over orders to avoid discussing China's touchy political issues in the meeting. How about that? So, guys, I kid you not. I don't make this stuff up. I've been telling you guys about this for a long time. China's trying to take us down from the inside. So, and this is that church attack in Minneapolis. Remember, the anti-ICE protesters went in, 40 of them, and basically protesting inside a church during a worship service, which is a First Amendment violation and it's highly illegal. So, Minnesota AG Ellison and Representative, I can't even pronounce that name, defended what Christian leaders refer to as a desecrating invasion. So, guys, when they want to attack churches, give me a break. Attack churches, defend people. If they want to defend, child predators, attack churches. Yeah, I'm kind of with Musk on that. And this is an interesting article here. And this is really this is a piece of what it's all about. They claim it's what it's all about. I say this is a piece of what it's all about. We know why the Democrats and the media hate ICE. It has zilch to do with empathy. So, yeah. Short, there's a lot happening. He said here, we know that. Let's see here. I'm not going to read all this. I'm just going to tell you what it says. Basically, what it's saying is that there's been a big movement in blue cities to import immigrants, to really bring the immigrants into the blue cities, to stuff them as many as they can. It's to the cities primarily for political power. What they're talking about is they want to keep the votes to keep the state blue, to turn the state blue, keep it blue. And it's been alleged, had they not been getting all this immigration, the state would have turned red. Now, it does two things. One, by getting more blue votes in the state, or more, a higher, why you're counting illegal immigrants in the census in the first place? They're not supposed to be here. But that's what's happened. They're counting them. So they get more seats in Congress. So they probably have more seats than they should have. And those seats are blue seats. But also, they're voting. They're not supposed to vote. This is why the Democrats do not want voter ID. As if they had the voter ID, if it was mandatory, they couldn't have people that aren't qualified to vote voting. But that's what they want. Obviously. Why else would you oppose voter ID? You got to have ID to drive. You got to have ID to get on an airplane. But yet to vote in the nation's most important elections, oh, no, 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 you can't, we can't be looking at that. That's because they don't want their graft and corruption uncovered, like all the billions and billions and billions of dollars that's been squandered in Minnesota and California too. I need to get into Gavin Newsom stuff, squandering of the California money that was supposed to take care of the homeless problem. I mean, they had enough money to take care of the homeless problem, but that money disappeared too. So that's interesting. So yeah, it ain't got nothing to do with empathy, as they claim. It's politics. But there's another dimension. I hope that's this next article. There's another dimension. How Mexico works with militants on U.S. soil to foment unrest and illegal immigration. Now, why would they do that? And why would some people in the United States so support? There's another reason. It's because they want to bring the United States down. They want to bring all the Western countries down. That's why it's happened in Western countries around the world, not just the United States. And a lot of them have this issue far worse than we do. Way back when they were talking about a certain agenda with a number that was like the number for perfect vision, 2020. I'll be careful how I say these things. Yeah, there were some of the people promoting that agenda that did some writing about taking down sovereignty in nations. Wasn't written directly into the agenda, but some of the people behind it were writing, it's important to basically dilute Western nations' national identities, so that the borders could dissolve and we'll all be one happy club all around the world. So they really want to destroy Western culture, because they want to subvert these countries onto basically what, the kind of thing the House of Klaus was trying to say, the World Economic Forum at the time. They weren't the only groups pushing this stuff. Not the first, and not the only ones. It's just kind of the most recent, more famous one. Think about the Bilderbergers and such. Child Adler's Commission. But anyway, I'll be careful what I talk about him. Anyway, so that's part of the bigger agenda. It's going worldwide. But definitely politics, it plays a part of those same politicians, how the Blue Party promotes those kind of global policies too. So if you want to be free and independent, then you need to think where you cast your votes. And maybe think about writing letters to your Congress critters, send them emails. All right, we're going to change topics here. Look at this. There's a healthy food that's healthier than peas, tomatoes, and lettuce. A food that's far healthier than all these things. I think peas ought to be healthy. Lettuce, depends on what kind. Iceberg lettuce ain't got no nutrition, but there are lettuces that do. Healthier than peas, lettuce, and tomatoes. And what is it? Lard. Pig fat. Lard. I kid you not. Lard contains no carbohydrates and offers saturated and monosaturated fats. It's just full of nutrients, believe it or not. How about that? Lard. So maybe that's how our ancestors in Europe kept the Muslims out. They were eating lard and the other guys weren't. Yes, maybe the pig should be considered holy and its food sacrament or something. I don't know. Anyway, just thought that was kind of hilarious. Now, looky here, guys. Wow, we got fresh earthquake on the New Madrid area, close to it. Two others right in the same area right here. This is at the vertex of the Juan de Fuca plate here. We see tons of earthquakes right here. And Mexico City is pretty common. We got a bunch of them here in West Texas. And where's this guy at? Louisiana. Holy wally, walking smoke-a-moly. And our friends in Puerto Rico, man, there's some happy people. They're always down and dancing hard, makes earth shake. And the biggest one I see on the map is right here in the volcanic islands, Japan region. So I guess Japan's got dominance over these islands that far away from Japan. I don't know. So interesting. And you better watch out. We got some severe weather, massive winter storm will hit large parts of the U.S. through this weekend. Large part. They're even talking snow here in Snowflake, believe it or not. So, even though the storm looks like it's petered out in on this map in New Mexico, now there's little fingers of it that reach all the way here into eastern Arizona, northeastern Arizona. But look at that. Look at the chances there. Kentucky, North Tennessee, North Alabama, North Mid Mississippi, Northern Louisiana, North Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina. Look at Oklahoma. It looks like it's almost got a bullseye over it. Oklahoma, West by golly, Virginia, and Virginia, Kentucky, on up to New Jersey, even maybe a little bit up in the Boston area. Look at that, guys. It's going to be a huge storm. And it's going to get cold. I checked the forecast for Tony, Alabama, and it's predicted to drop down to 5 degrees. That is pretty darn cold for that area. Yeah. So we just had some major space storms. Yeah, guys, get ready for cold weather. So you ought to know about this. You've probably been warned. If you haven't, you need to check your weather services. Because you're in any of these areas, you're allowed to be snowed in. Get prepared to be able to, if you get ice storms, power could go down. So be ready to spend some days at home where you may not be able to get out. Get some kind of prepping done. Get the things you use on a day-to-day basis. Run out and get them today, tonight, tomorrow, as soon as you can. Anyway, guys, there's still a bunch of sunspots here. Don't look like any grand solar minimum by any flat standpoint to me. Anyway, the storm is over, but get ready for the next one. We just had a 3-day solar event that featured for 15 hours of 3 days a G4 extreme geomagnetic storm. It's like a G5, though. It's not a Carrington event, but it was really strong. And maybe a G3 for another 18 hours out of this period of time. You had auroras against Joshua trees. Look at that. In Joshua Tree National Park, Mojave Desert. I've seen those. I've seen those trees out there. And aurora is down a little bit from what it was yesterday when we looked at this. Last time we looked at it on here. Look at that. That's a pretty picture. That's quite a, it's just right overhead. And that's near Fairbanks, Alaska. This Aurora saw is in Alaska. And it geometrically looked like a lot like that, but to me it looked like God just poured the watercolors out in the sky and took his fingers and went like this. That's what I thought it looked like. Pretty amazing event. Asteroids, well, as usual, Today's the 22nd now. There's nothing we know of that's come between the Earth and the moon. But when you look in the past, you always see something. 0.9, 0.9, 0.5 between the Earth and the moon. You know, the last few days. It's always the smaller ones we hadn't discovered yet. 4 meters, 4 meters, 5 meters. Now that's bucking along pretty good velocity there, 13.5 kilometers. These other two are kind of slow. They might be spent rocket stages. This one, I don't know, might be a little asteroid. Those are small enough they'd burn up in the atmosphere. Not a threat. There's no known immediate threats and asteroids coming at us anytime soon. Anyway, another certain bigger channel used to every year would come out with this inside information. I got it from straight from the intelligence departments that, you know, I got connections with the intelligence community, and they tell me we're about to get hit by a swarm of comets and asteroids. Oh, yeah. Do you remember, you know who I'm talking about? He said it's 2 or 3 years in a row. First year he came out with that, I came out immediately with the video that says, no, we're not. It's not going to happen. Maybe I'll get some little bitty views. His blew up, way bigger than mine. And then he come out and said it again the next year. Okay, y'all believe that crap then. It didn't happen. And now you're buying this same crap a year later? Come on, guys. Wake up. Have some sense. Anyway, yeah, I'm going to stop the share. Oh, that's channel got way more views than me, way more subscribers. You know, that's it. You come out. I need to just start talking nonsense, total nonsense. My views would blow up. My channel would blow up. I'd do way better. I just come here and start talking pure nonsense, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I try not to do that. I try to have basis for everything I say. But anyway, I'd certainly do a whole lot better if I would just quit thinking about things and just come up with the dumbest thing I can come up with. Maybe I need to use AI to help me. It's hard to be that dumb, to be honest, or dishonest in some cases. In some cases, it's just downright dishonest, some of the things that people put out there. And oh, yeah, the viewers will yuck it up. Yeah, 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 yeah. You know, like this total fabrication and fiction that the Earth's going to slide on the crust is going to slide around like this, 90 degrees, every 12,000 years. I busted that story up left and right back a few years ago. This guy gets tons of stuff. But anyway, pure fiction. No, it's not fiction. It's a lie. Let's just call it for what it is. He knows better. It's a pure ball-faced lie. And my good friend over in Oppenheimer Ranch Project, he's come out and called it that himself. So salute to Diamond for calling a spade a spade. Yes, Diamond. Thank you, sir. You painted that picture correctly. So, but I was saying it for a long time. I think I was the first that really came out and just spilled the beans on it, showed you how it could not be true. Couldn't have happened any time in the last probably 32 million, never. Our crantons would be scarred to death for it. No, it's never happened. Ever. Never, ever. Yeah, the Earth does slide, move around over time a little bit. There's never been no sudden 90-degree shift of the crust over the bulk of the Earth. It has not happened. Ever. Anyway, at least not since the continents have formed. So if you don't believe that, go back and find my video on the Adam and Eve story. Somebody asked me, how do you survive an event like that? Well, I kind of talk about how you survive an event because I was asked that, but I busted the heck out of it in the process. I even told you how many Hiroshima bombs it would take to evaporate the sea levels down 600 feet of some of those people that follow that stuff that everybody just thought was absolute experts. I busted them too. I didn't just bust one person, I busted a few of them. So everybody thinks I'm just a fearmonger. I just put up fear. No, I have actually dispelled some of the nonsense that some other people have put out there. So take that to the bank. But you always get your Doubting Thomases and people coming here, oh, Greg, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, guys, go pound sand if that's all you can do. Go home, stick your head in a bucket of water or something. Or like we used to say when I was a kid, go jump in a lake, swallow a snake, come back up with a belly ache. We had some good sayings way back in the early 60s, mid 60s. Anyway, anybody ever heard that saying? I'm really curious. Anybody ever heard the saying, I just thought jump in a lake, swallow a snake, come back up with a belly ache? Man, it used to be well known where I grew up, back in my neck of the woods in the early to mid 60s. So let's see if anybody heard that one. If you've heard it, put a four in the chat room. If you're not, you don't have to. If you don't have to vote, if you haven't heard it, just I'm curious. If anybody's heard that besides me? That's a real old expression. It might have been geographically limited. All right, I'm gonna look at some chat here in a minute and see what folks are actually saying. La-di-da-di-da-di-da-di. I'm gonna pull up the chat rooms of that. I put it in a different place this time on a different lineup. So what folks are saying. Give me a second. I believe that's it. There it is. Found it. We got Peppermint Patty in the house. Anonymous person. Anonymous. You can buy YouTube views, comments. You can buy them. I don't know how, but I heard people doing it. You can boost your channel supposedly, but I don't think it's worth the money you put into it from what I've heard. So, oh, two people have heard this saying. Carol, you're from Alabama, aren't you? And that where are you from? Yeah, two people have heard this saying, so I'm not alone. Good. I'm glad to hear that. I am glad to hear that. Mr. Dunham. Hello, 5x5. Y'all like I got my Sony camera working again. And there's Arnold. A classy hello, Bama. Indie space. Seeds are showing up in the mail again. Yeah, I wondered about that recently, Angie. I did. Hello, fam. I wondered about that. Do not open those seeds. Because, they might send out totally innocent seeds 5 or 6 times, and one day all the seeds are sent out to be stuff that'll wipe our crops out. As people starting to get used to it, like crying wolf, ain't nothing to it. Let me plant them and see what they are. Ain't nothing ever come of these seeds. Nothing ever happens. Nothing's ever going to happen. Yeah, and the next time it's got a fungus in it, wipe out all our crops. Yeah, all these, nothing ever happened. Nothing's going to happen, Crowders. Guys, get your head out of the sand. Look around the world today. We're in a really weird, scary place. But, and Doubting Thomas is what's Nate call those people that say that all the time? He's got a word for them. Those are BRICS nations. Okay. I'm going to scroll through the chat real fast because I got to get up in a little bit. BBS, time to turn my oven on for dinner. Hey, Rodney. Hey, down there, he's about ready to eat. Lunchtime for you almost. Oh, he's back already. That was quick, Rodney. Kathy Pittman, how you doing? Yeah, I think the regular people in Europe go along with what I'm saying. It's the elites there who stole your country, stole your future, like they try to do here in the United States. Fortunately, Trump seems to be kicking some of that back. At least he withdrew the United States from 66 different agencies and the UN, basically. I think that was progress. Palestine, Texas. Hey, that's where they got the big balloon launch facility. Yeah, I know about Palestine. Dinner time. Okay. Yeah, I know about Palestine, Texas. The National Balloon Launch Facility's there. Now, the company that makes the balloons was Raven. Now they're back to Winson, I think is her name. Mike Smith's their chief engineer. I know him. He went out on a boat with us and launched our hybrid rockets from ships in the Gulf of Mexico. We bought our balloons from them, and their locations in Sulphur Springs. 20 minutes away, huh? Never underestimate the enemy reading between the lines. Think outside the sandbox. There you go. Michigan lifestyle. You're right. Or as W said, never misunderestimate, which is a double negative. But yeah, he yucked it up and acted dumb. He wasn't as dumb as he acted. But I don't trust no Bush. If you're that, well, at least not of that family. They were globalist, big time. So, alrighty, folks, what we're going to do, peppermint party, what's for dinner down under, Rodney? Guys, I didn't get any eggs today. None. Zero. But I did get eggs yesterday. Y'all want to do an egg guess from yesterday? If you do, I'll say go now. How many eggs did I get yesterday? Go. Eggs from yesterday. Now, I don't have them separated to show you, but I have the number. Y'all guess how many eggs did I get yesterday? I want to tell you today it's zero. Out of East Texas, they say Palestine. Okay. Keep guessing. Where you at, Carol? Because you knew my expression too. I think you told me. I'm just forgetting. Keep guessing. How you doing, Arnold? Nobody got it yet. Whoa! Chewy Weather got it. I got 6 eggs yesterday. That's a lot for this time of year. And today, none, because it got really cold last night. Last night, it got down to 15. So I guess those hens didn't want to lay no eggs today. I'll probably come out with a bunch of them tomorrow. 6 eggs. I had 6 eggs yesterday, 0 today. Or I say today, like today's still the 21st. On the 21st, I had 0 eggs. Chewy Weather got it. My friend from West Wokistan. Speaking of West Wokistan, everybody tell me where you're from. We got people from different places. I'm kind of interested in Carol. Oh, Monkey Town. Oh, Montgomery? Are you in Montgomery, Carol? Monkey Town. Would that be Montgomery? Oh, you think I get 9 tomorrow, Peppermint Patty? Well, don't ever guess till I say go, but that's an interesting forecast. Everybody tell me where you're from. Monkey Town. Miami. Hey, Mark Graham. Guess you won't get any snow tomorrow. Yes. All right, I got you. I knew what you meant by Monkey Town. Hillsboro, West Smokistan. There we go, Chewy Weather. Queensland, Rodney, down under. Monkey Town. That had to be Montgomery. Snowflake. Oh, he's just talking about temperature. It was 13 that was Kathy from Alabama. Very good. Sweet home, Alabama. They're playing on radio here. Just last time I was driving with the radio on. My daughter gave her chickens away because she didn't want to take care of them. Oh, no. That's sad. Now, you do have to take care of them. Oh, I love feeding my girls greens because it's fun to watch them go. And boy, they go at them. You take some greens and throw it in the pan, and they tear them up. Boy, that's like ice cream to the chickens. Originally, now where you at now? Where you at now in the space? That's all, man. Where you at now? I say, where you from? I mean, where are you at right now? Presently. All right, we're about done here. We need to wrap up here in a minute. It is late. Before we wrap up, I want to check my email to see if anybody's in the house that might have tossed me a donation through my website. Nope, not here tonight. Aiken, South Carolina. My heart is aching to be in Aiken, where I'm driving my NASCAR and she ain't a breaking. Utah this summer is going to be 120. Whoo, I hope not. Well, what makes you think that? 120, that'd be crazy in Utah. I'm from the same, all of you folks, my mother. Loudy, Arnold, we know where you're at. Alberta, Western Alberta. Indy place, okay. You get chickens, make sure it's a commitment. The cleaning of the coops and all that good stuff, the lamps, the heat bulbs. My chickens are my little buddies. There you go. Well, I can't really run a heat lamp here. It'd kill my batteries. Yeah, I need to go to bed too, Michigan lifestyle. It's almost, it takes me about an hour after I shut this down to come up with a thumbnail and put text in, all the little bells and whistles I have to click, and then get myself ready for bed. And I got to get up early in the morning. I mean, well before daybreak, because I got an early meeting with some Germans in it. Phoenix, Arizona. Josie Flores. Hey, that's not far away. Not far at all. All right. Michigan, take care. All righty. Well, we're going to call it a night. So I just want to thank everybody for watching. Thank you, mods, for keeping the channel straight. Tell me how you like the image tonight. I got a good, clean image. The video ought to be better. The audio should be better because I'm operating off the Sony what is it, ZV-10, something like that. And I've got to figure out how to make these DJI mics work that I bought some months ago. I mean, they operate, they turn on, but I can't get them to work with my camera and Zoom. So I got to try to crack that nut again. Anyway, a lot to do here. Hopefully I can make the better quality for you guys. So 120 in South Utah is not unheard of. If it's the fires I'm worried about, well, I hope Broken Fish you don't have to face that. That is hot. I won't get that hot here. Hopefully it won't. Anyway, again, thank you, mods, for keeping the channel clean. Thank you, everyone, for watching. To one and all, a good day, good night, wherever you are. It's daytime where Rodney's at. And with that, I'm going to say ho, 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 in memory of Granny Lana. And everyone take care. Keep your eyes wide